Hey there, my friends. Welcome back to The Mosaic. This is the podcast where we piece together life and business and mindset, one intentional piece at a time. So, I was thinking about this. You may have been listening and wondering, who is this girl named Arzu? And why should I even care about what she has to say? Well, if that thought crossed your mind, you are in for a treat because today I'm going to tell you my story. Now, this is going to be a condensed version. I don't want this story and my journey I don't want this all about me, even though it is my journey. I just still want to give you bits and pieces of what I've learned along the way with the challenges and the victories and the values that guide me along my journey. So buckle up because we are about to get real and super raw. Okay, so I think I mentioned this in prior episodes, but I was born and raised in Turkey, a country rich with its history. And I had a beautiful upbringing. And now I didn't grow up with much. That's not to say that my parents had, my mom was a homemaker and my dad had a stable but a modest job. I am one of 3 kids, and my parents worked hard to make ends meet. At one point, all 3 of us were in college, and I was the youngest and at home most of the time. And, we could do budgeting with my dad together. So you could kind of tell, right, that the making ends meet was something that I had to overcome over the years because of that upbringing in my family. But anyhow, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So education was super important to my family, and it did become my anchor. So I graduated at the top of my class, got into one of the best public universities in Istanbul, and I landed a job in a private sector that actually paid me, it's interesting, right? Paid me more than my dad was making annually after a 30-year public sector career in his professional career at the time, right? Like I was making more monthly than my dad. But so it was a big deal. I was still gonna have a great life if I wanted to stay in Turkey and live my life, and I could still do things. But at the time in the private sector, I realized quickly that I was the kind of person that always wanted to grow, and I need something more, something that would set me apart from my peers. So I looked at opportunities. I was going to go to England because it was closer to Turkey. But in 1999, I took a leap. A friend of my family had a relative in the United States who could help me get started. So I quit my job. Oh, actually, they told me you could come back if things don't work out. But I quit my job, sold my car, packed 2 suitcases, and came to the United States. I had about $5,000 in my pocket, $5,000. And that money was really everything I had saved at the time after a 2-year career after I graduated college, right? And by Turkey's standards in 1999, it was somewhat significant. But looking back, though, right? Um, so that decision alone really changed the trajectory of my life. It was a big turning point in my life. But I'm thinking through now that I see everyone trying to migrate and come to the United States or go somewhere else. It doesn't even have to be United States. But I have my family, all my family still in Turkey. My brothers did and they still are doing really well. And if even if I stayed in Turkey, right, I still think that I could have had a great life. Not that I don't have, I mean, I now have a great life and I'm very grateful of everything that I've accomplished. But really, when I think my takeaway from up to this point is when I go and look back, it's really never about where you are, right? It's about who you are and what you make of your circumstances. So I guess that is your first takeaway. You count your diamonds. You can be content and happy no matter where your location is, right? So don't seek out because something external to make you happy, because happiness is an internal game. It's not, and I say that it wasn't that I was seeking happiness at the time. I was just trying to find something better, looking for opportunities, and I always encourage you to do that. But it's not about a location, right? You could do that wherever you are. I don't want you limiting yourself with, oh, I'm in this, these are my circumstances. You can find opportunities under the circumstances or the location that you're at. Happiness is an internal game. You can find opportunities and don't seek external circumstances changing your life's trajectory. And by all means, look for opportunities. Okay. I think I kind of tried to nail that point a few times by now, but let me get going. So going back to somewhat of building a new life in the United States, I started my master's degree in computer science at Washington State University. And somewhere along the way, I got married. My husband at the time was doing his postdoctorate, and we had a child together before divorcing about 6 years later. Okay. And I was a single mom for about 6 years, and it was hard. I didn't have relatives, and it was one of the hardest times, I think. And when I go back in my years in the United States, honestly, it was one of the hardest times. And it taught me a lot. It taught me to be resilient. And during that time, I pursued my PhD in computer science. And after that, though, this being a single mom, I got remarried, had another child, and now I have two biological kids. But later, right later, at one point I went back to school because I got to a point in my life I had done a lot of highly technical work, and I was starting to seek opportunities to lead technical teams. And my PhD became a little bit of a bottleneck and holding me back, in the sense that when I wanted to be a manager or a leader, I was told that I was too technical. So I went back later and got a master's degree in strategic management from Harvard. And those are, great days. And I seeked growth, and I seeked opportunities. I furthered my education, got lots of degrees, got and I'm really highlighting the big rocks. I've gotten lots of certifications and such. And looking back, right, and I still value education a lot. It it tells something, right? It tells you of the person that you can persevere, and when you start something, that you can finish it. And education, throughout my education, it expanded my network. I have met people that I would have never met, and learned a lot from others from different fields in the industry. So those were great decisions for me, right? But looking back, I want you to seek those opportunities. I definitely want you to further your education. I would never tell my kids not to further their education. But all those degrees and certifications, honestly, it means something, but at the same time, it doesn't define me. So it taught me a lot, but I was already capable of greatness per se before any of those degrees or in the certifications and all that kinds of stuff. Is I guess what I'm trying to tell you here, right? So this is really my second takeaway from my journey to you, is that never let your worth defined by your accomplishments, and on the flip side, your failures, right? Your accomplishments doesn't define you, doesn't mean that much, right? It's really, you're amazing just as you are. Even if you don't have the degree, you're amazing just as you are. You can do greatness in life without the degrees. And on the flip side, if you had failures in your life, we all do, okay? Don't let those failures define you. Things change in an instant. You can change your life trajectory in an instant. You are amazing. You're here now. Despite the failures that you have or fallback that you've experienced in life, you can turn your life around today. Okay, that's your next, that's your second takeaway. All right, I guess maybe fast forwarding to today, and the work that I do nowadays is I do lead a highly technical IT team remotely. I manage several businesses. I look at investment opportunities for my family, and I teach at colleges, and I teach others what works in the real life. That's what I try to do. Even in the college courses that I teach, I try to bring in theory and what really works in real life. And whether it is through my business planning boot camp, the college courses I teach, or the business production program that I have, my goal today is to make freedom, integrity, and the impact accessible for everyone, because everyone has greatness in them. That's what I believe, and that's what I try to do. And really, here's what I want you to know. I didn't get here without failures. I've had businesses that flopped. I've had investments that I lost a lot of money in. I've had businesses that thrived. I had investments that were highly successful. But through it all, I did learn that success comes from really aligning your work with your values and never letting your failures define you. So this is really your third takeaway. You're going to have some wins and little losses along the way. But really take the time to reflect and identify your values. Learn from from the past, bring on in those lessons, but never let them define you. and stay true to your values and look at the fear in the eye and do it anyways. No, don't not holding anything back, and be fearless and courageous. Live a life that is courageous and create a life that's worthwhile and to create a business that you love. Right? So and that's really what it is. That's really my I wanted to kind of in a condensed and a short way walk you through highlights maybe of or turning points in my life and drop you some lessons along the way and maybe give you a little bit inspiration, hopefully, to get out there and live your life. And I am so grateful for this community. I love you. I want you to stay true to yourself. And I am here for you. I want you to know that I want to empower you to really build the life that you always dreamed of. Okay. And one mosaic piece at a time. And that's what it is. We are building something extraordinary in this community. And I want you to be a part of it. I want you to do the work, stay true to your intentions, and build something extraordinarily beautiful. Because you deserve that. You deserve to step into that fully. Okay? Okay, I'm done here. I will see you in the next episode. Take care. I'm out.